know the route of the spermatozoa. Seminiferous tubule, remember, the seminiferous tubule, the straight tubule, the reed testis, the ductus efferens, the ductus epididymis, the vas deferens. And the vas deferens now is going to join, it's going to come down and join with the duct from the seminal vesicle to form what's called the ejaculatory duct, and that's all going to empty into the prostatic urethra. We haven't really talked about that yet, but I'll show it to you. Into the prostatic urethra, to the membranous urethra, to the spongy cavernosum urethra. So we'll see that. Close it. What are they doing up there? Okay, yeah, close that door. Okay, good. Okay, so there is that. Now, spermatozoa may, after they're, this is the thing about it. I always tell people this. All of you know what a vasectomy is, don't you? You know what a vasectomy is? When they first started many, many years ago, I remember they used to think that a vasectomy would enhance a person's chance for cancer more. That's long been since dispelled, though. There's no support for that whatsoever. In other words, with a vasectomy, the spermatozoa are still produced, etc., but they don't have anywhere to go. And so they're just absorbed. They just disintegrate. They're just absorbed. But as far as hurting anything, as far as being a health problem, I don't, I never, that was dispelled. It did pop up one time. I haven't seen it anymore, though. I have not seen that theory or that particular thing we talked about. All right, this is off the internet right here. This is an internet shot showing that same business with respect to the male reproductive stuff. And some of the names, I see reed testis is the same. They don't even label or do they label the straight? Here would be the straight tubule, here would be the seminiferous tubule, the straight tubules, the reed testis, the ductus efferens, they show them, the vas deferens, and it shows most of it right there, most of the stuff right there, but that just kind of, there's that epididymis and there's the vas deferens, kind of shows you a little bit of it. You can kind of get a little picture of it. All right. Now, the vas deferens is a muscular tube that forms part of the spermatic cord. That is the vas deferens or ductus deferens. It stores the sperm and will propel them toward the urethra during ejaculation. That's the vas deferens does that. And the vas deferens, as we mentioned, the ductus deferens or vas deferens, that is a surefire sterilization procedure in the male, is to sever, cut, and tie the vas deferens. And so, that's just like a tubal ligation, or that's also called a salpingectomy. Tubal ligation in a female is a surefire sterilization procedure. It doesn't mean that ovulation doesn't occur. It's just that with the tubal ligation, the tube's tied, so to speak, the egg just disintegrates. It doesn't really hurt anything, but it'll just kind of, quote, go away. All right, so the vasectomy, we've already talked about that. They cannot reach the exterior, obviously, with that. All right, so ejaculatory ducts. Now, these are some things right here that you might not have been familiar with where these are. The seminal vesicle produces, there's a duct from the seminal vesicle. It doesn't have a name to it. There's a seminal vesicle. Then the vas deferens comes down, and it joins like two railroad tracks coming together. The vas deferens comes down and joins the seminal vesicle duct, and there's a short little piece of duct that empties into the prostatic urethra. That little short piece of duct is called the ejaculatory duct. And I've got a good diagram of it right up here, but it's just, and so I have right here ejaculatory about an inch, formed by the union of the ducts from the seminal vesicle and the vas deferens. That would be the ejaculatory. And so eject the spermatozoa into the prostatic urethra. In other words, a part of the urethra that goes through the prostate gland is called the prostatic urethra. And so that's the way that kind of works out there. Not a big deal with that, but I mean just kind of, and there's a good diagram of it. In other words, the diagram right here shows in the male reproductive stuff, it shows, see, here's the ampulla. An ampulla, like the fallopian tube. There's an ampulla of the fallopian tube. That's the swollen end of it, where it expands out, where there's an ampulla of the vas deferens. And the ampulla of the vas deferens is this little swollen area, the expanded area here. This is the seminal vesicle. The seminal vesicle actually produces most of of the seminal fluid, the semen. It produces about 60% of it, the seminal vesicle. Well, where the duct, this duct doesn't have a name to it. It's just called seminal vesicle duct. I've never seen a name for that, never. It's just called the seminal vesicle duct. Where the seminal vesicle duct joins with the vas deferens, here's where they come together. That little short, which is about an inch long, that little short area right there is called the ejaculatory duct. And that empties into the prostatic urethra. The reason it's called prostatic urethra, when males get older, many times, when males get really, really old, ancient, get older, this prostate gland tends to become hard, it tends to become crusty, it tends to, in many cases, pinch this prostatic urethra and make urination difficult. And many times, older males will have problems. Now, they can go through there and wring that out, which I don't think is very pleasant. You know, go up through the penis and open that up, which I don't think that's very pleasant. Doesn't sound pleasant, does it? No, nothing like that sounds pleasant. All right, but anyway, that is the prostatic urethra. But this prostate gland does tend to swell, and it does tend to become crusty, hard, swell, and pinch this, and kind of close off that urethra there, which interferes with urination. I mean, it makes it difficult. And so, there's the idea. And of course, the prostate gland, too, shown there. Prostate gland is a key area, a key cause of prostatic cancer, which we'll mention that, too. All right, so right here now, the urethra, there's areas in the male of the urethra. The areas of the urethra are the prostatic, about an inch long, passes through the prostate. So what does the prostate do? The prostate gland contributes, which we'll talk about, it's one of the accessory glands of the male reproductive. The prostate gland contributes to the production. It also produces a hormone-like substance called prostaglandins. And the prostaglandins, what they do, they enhance the movement of the spermatozoa. You know, the prostaglandins will do that. So the prostate, in other words, there's the prostatic urethra, there's its mission. The membranous urethra is between the prostate and the spongy urethra. The spongy urethra in the male, that is in the penis. And so between the prostate and the spongy urethra is an area called the membranous urethra. So I'm telling you that the duct system in the male is much more complicated than the female. It's much more intricate. The tubes are smaller, they're longer, and it's just much more complicated. And some of these, as I told you, like chlamydia, and like chlamydia trachomatis, and like Neisseria gonorrhoeae, and some of these treponema pallidum, which causes syphilis, some of these things that these sexually transmitted diseases can wreak havoc on this duct system. I mean, literally. I mean, it can be dangerous. All right, but anyway, right here, the spongy or cavernosus urethra passes through a portion of the penis known as the corpus spongiosum of the penis. So this has to do with the urethra in the male. I mean, it's just made up of these parts. And the female doesn't have different names to it. It's just the urethra in the female. And so coming to the urethra now, remember, is coming from the bladder to the exterior. And so this is what the urethra does. It's just a little bit more involved in the female. Now, I mean in the male. Now there are accessory glands in male reproduction which need to be, need to kind of mention these just a little bit. These accessory glands, first of all, I have this slide right here. And then there is the, all right, this, you can't see the urethra, you can't see it coming from the bladder there, but it is. That'll say right there, prostatic urethra right there. You can't see it coming from the bladder.